Much of the musical civilization of the East is linked to this ancient capital of 13 Chinese dynasties. How many stories have unfolded here, and what secrets lie hidden within? This city of cities is the birthplace of Western musical civilization. Several thousands of years ago, a Silk Road linked Chang'an and Rome, capital cities of two civilizations. Just how inextricably linked are they? This is a beloved Chinese musical instrument, the pipa. In the Song of the Pipa, Tang poet Bai Juyi described the sound of the pipa like this: chattering and pattering, pattering and chattering, as pearls large and small on a jade plate fall. The Chinese have been in love with a pipa for at least 1,000 years. And it was apparently fashionable for every household in the Tang era to learn to play the instrument. The pipa is the trickiest Chinese musical instrument to play. And today I've come to try to fathom its secrets.
琵琶为什么说它难学呢？就是因为它的技法很多。最常用的指法吧，弹挑。就是要琵琶，包括这样的。
The pipa can conjure up an epic battle scene or a beautiful love story. It's acclaimed as the king of Chinese musical instruments, but few people know that it's actually a foreign instrument.
这个形状，你看这个莲花裙是一个六角形吗？这个是，它就是个莲花的形状。对。
The pipa has its origins in the ode, a plucked string instrument which arrived in China via the Silk Road more than 2,000 years ago. After a lengthy evolution, the Chinese perfected its expressiveness, and the pipa ultimately became a national musical instrument that could narrate China's stories and fables. Thanks to the Silk Road, the ancient ode also became a seed that was able to disseminate musical culture. Heading west, it reached Italy during the Roman Empire and became the mandolin. I've come to this museum of ancient musical instruments in search of the pipa's twin sister in Europe. This is one of the oldest pianos in the world, but it's just a few hundred years old. Before pianos became popular in Western society, the mandolin was all the rage for close to 1,000 years.
这是一把非常古老的曼陀林，生产自1595年的意大利。它和我们国家的琵琶一样，它们都是同宗同源。 来自丝绸之路。
After the ode arrived here, the ever-romantic Italians similarly fell in love with it and made it their own instrument. The people here remain madly in love with the mandolin to this very day.
1882, tortoise shell, and gold inside.
Beautiful.
Traditional techniques are still used to make mandolins today.
像这个曼陀林，它有8根弦，你看，嗦、来、拉、咪，这个跟我们国家的琵琶是一样的。
The structure, shape, and playing techniques of the mandolin are very similar to that of the Chinese pipa. Unlike the pipa, however, the mandolin is not used to portray epic battle scenes. In Italy, evoking romance is its exclusive purpose. This is the sound of the mandolin, crisp and melodic, rather like the young men here, who were tender and romantic. The Silk Road legendarily transformed the ancient ode into a pair of charming twin sisters. Although thousands of miles apart, these two peoples with different temperaments were able to use the same kind of instrument to tell their own stories. To me, that's how civilizations miraculously blend together. On April 24, 1970, "The East is Red," a song that is familiar to all Chinese ears, resounded across the world with the launch of the Dongfang 1 satellite. These were the first sounds that the Chinese nation ever transmitted in space. This is also the first sound the ancient city of Xi'an hears each day. Do you know what musical instrument produces such penetrating sounds? Every time I hear this sound, I'm inexplicably moved. Drifting across the Apennine Peninsula for millennia, it has witnessed many key moments of this nation and its people. So what musical instrument is capable of this sound? I saw this kind of musical instrument just 30 kilometers from Xi'an, next to the tomb of Emperor Wu of Han. "The East is Red," the song played in space by China's very first man-made satellite, was performed with this very instrument. It's called the bianzhong.
编钟是中国最古老的乐器之一，它是庙堂的雅乐正声，是当时的贵族专享的。
This is the first time I've struck a bianzhong. I've always wanted to know why only the Chinese used bells as musical instruments. And why was it that in ancient China, events of great significance would take place when it was sounded? This is the first time I've been to Rome, and I felt enveloped in music the instant I arrived. Many people who come to Rome marvel at the architecture as it stands. But for me, these domes are designed exclusively for music. The church is the most sacred place in Rome. Since ancient times and during grand ceremonies, this magnificent sound would reverberate, traveling beyond the domes to resound in the hearts of all Romans. The musical instrument that produced these sounds is called a pipe organ, and the dome serves as its enormous loudspeaker. For more than 2,000 years, Romans always felt that the pipe organ produced sounds that were closest to that of heaven. As an outsider, however, I am most interested in how the organ's tiny body could generate such powerful sounds. For more than 1,000 years before the Romans invented the pipe organ, bianzhong ruled the imperial courts of China's Qin and Han dynasties. The bianzhong would be sounded at important state ceremonies, such as the enthronement of emperors and making offerings to the ancestors. Back then, it would be more accurate to call the bianzhong a ceremonial instrument rather than a musical instrument. The aristocracy believed that the music it produced was an offering made to the heavens. At a time some 3,000 years ago when amplifiers did not exist, using bells as musical instruments was a unique and pioneering achievement of the Chinese. Small bells were crisp, while large bells were sonorous. Echoes were used to transmit these sounds as far as possible. We have to admire the wisdom of the Chinese in bronze casting, acoustics, and structural mechanics. Compared to the bianzhong, the pipe organ is more like a system that has been engineered. To amplify the sound, the artisan's ingenious design positioned the organ's pipes together with the structure of the building. The pipe organ's inner workings are said to be more precise than a clock or a watch. The instrument is also richly expressive, with up to 100 tones, with a pedal board and keyboard that are used simultaneously. Only a highly skilled performer can master it. One could say that the pipe organ is the perfect crystallization of acoustics and architectural science. Immersed in this sacred music, I've suddenly come to realize that both in the past and in the present, East or West, and regardless of race or rank, communicating with heaven and earth and the sublimation of the soul are pursuits of the human spirit. And music is the best expression God has bestowed on us. With a 7,000-year history, this instrument is called a shin. Listening to this ancient music, I seem to hear the breath of our ancestors, and I can glimpse scenes from their hunt. How did this ancient music travel through the ages? I will visit some musicians to relate their stories of musical culture and heritage. Curious, I arrived at the Shen workshop in Banpo, Xi'an. I wanted to see how the Shen was made. A graduate of Xi'an Conservatory of Music, Liu Hao has been handed down the techniques of
大
Shen
家在
making.
做熏是吧？
对。
哦，用这个泥土做的，这泥土感觉很特别啊。
对，像这个泥土是我们这边产河边上通过河水冲击，泥就比较细嘛。
那他是在做什么呀？
修胚，它是先把这个形儿先竖出来之后，要把它修得光滑。
哦，
对
挖孔之后就会出现声音了，
对
是吧？
对对对对
出现音高了。
这个我觉得神奇的地方在于什么？中国的这些工匠啊，他全凭手工，他凭他的手感，他凭开孔的这个距离，他就能知道他这个熏基本上是什么调。
哇，这个太神奇了！
是
我看它也没有任何的校音器哦。
Only by doing it personally can I appreciate the wisdom of our ancient ancestors. They simply used fire, water, and clay to create this unique instrument. It is truly incredible. It is recorded in ancient texts that this instrument was popular in the imperial court of Chang'an and then disappeared for a long time. It was not until the 1950s that archaeologists, while excavating the Neolithic Banpo village site, first came across the earliest example. Thanks to the joint efforts of both musicians and artisans, the ancient Shin received a new lease on life. Unlike those who inherited these skills from previous generations, Liu Hao, who majored in music, not only learned the techniques of crafting instruments, but also focused on studying performing, employing the unique expressiveness of the shun to extend and preserve its artistic life.